This week's movie review was requested by OAW patron 00 Soldier. Salute to you, fam. And if you have a film, television series, or an anime that you would like to see reviewed here on OAW Entertainment, become a patron at patreon.com/OAW. And with that being said, here is my review of Megamind.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Once again, I want to go ahead and give another huge shout out to OAW patron 00 Soldier for requesting this film for review. And so I'll just go ahead, I'll jump right into it, give you all a brief synopsis of the film, and then I'll give you all my thoughts on the writing, on the characters, on the animation, music, and so on. All right, so let's get this thing started. So Megamind is the 2010 American computer animated superhero comedy film directed by Tom McGrath, produced by DreamWorks Animation, and distributed by Paramount Pictures. It features the voice talents of Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Jonah Hill, David Cross, and Brad Pitt. And the film tells the story of a super intelligent alien supervillain, Megamind, who after a long-lasting battle one day actually destroys his foe, the much-loved superhero Metro Man. Having Metro City for himself, Megamind finds out that his villainy has no purpose and thus creates a new superhero to serve as his nemesis. His plan backfires as he ends up creating instead a new supervillain. With Metro City sprawling out of control, Megamind attempts to set things right and discovers his newfound purpose as a superhero. So that's a brief synopsis of the film. And now I'm going to go ahead and give you all my thoughts on the story, the writing, some of the themes and whatnot, the plot overall. So I dug Megamind. I dug it. What I like about Megamind, so just so you guys know, Megamind is one of those films that we had a funny thing happen like in the mid 2000s. And slowly into, the what would eventually become sort of like the superhero boom, if you will, where we as Hollywood, right, the American film industry, we were making a lot of films about superheroes that weren't traditional superhero films. So what I mean by that is, I would go as far as to say like since 2005, between like 2005 all the way up until about 2011. Because remember, we didn't get Iron Man until 2008. We didn't get The Dark Knight until 2008. And the boom didn't really happen until Avengers in 2012. So in between like 05 and I wouldn't go as far as to say 12. I would definitely say by 11, because by 12, the boom had occurred, right? But we were making these sort of films where we're using superheroes as the canon in order to tell these stories, but we didn't want to make them traditional superhero films because we had that before, right? And a lot of them were original IPs. They were original characters. So like during this period, this is where Hancock came from. This is the period where Chronicle was developed. Granted, Chronicle didn't come out until later, but Chronicle was developed during this time. This is when a lot of the indie comics started getting optioned for film. So Watchmen, Kick-Ass. So we had a lot of those types of movies. Megamind is one of those movies. What I dig about Megamind, though, in that fashion, and like in regards to a lot of those other films too, this is a movie that is a superhero spoof. It's superhero satire and parody, but it also doubles as a meta narrative that actually does play out, while rather unconventional, still plays out the superhero origin story. And the film's very intelligent about that, and it knows that. The reason why I use the term meta narrative is because the characters in the film are very aware of their archetypes, of their stereotypes. They're aware of the tropes because that plays to the film's comedy. And these characters, because they are aware of their archetypes, they comment on how they don't necessarily appeal to certain aspects of said archetypes. And once that level of introspection starts happening with the characters as the film progresses, we start to see them kind of break out of that. But in doing so, they still end up playing out what can still be considered a superhero origin story. And I dug that about the film. I like that it was that smart, that it was that intelligent. So some of the things that I'm talking about, like the manner in which it satirizes superhero fare, which for this film specifically is more Superman. That's the main superhero that they're parodying in this film is Superman, because our film starts off with Megamind and Metro Man's, I guess you could say their shared origin story, but it plays out the same way, right? It starts off the same way, where they are both alien immigrants that were sent to Earth as infants from distant planets. I think Megamind's planet was destroyed. I don't know about Metro Man's planet. I don't know if that one was destroyed because we don't get to see that, but we do see that they were both sent off at the same time. Their ships actually meet up in space. And then once they arrive at Earth, they arrive at two different places, where Metro Man arrives in the home of a wealthy family. Megamind arrives in a prison. And so we see their sort of growing up side by side together, but from two different sides of the fence, right? Or if you prefer, two different sides of the tracks. And we see how, like, because of where they come from, because of the differences they have, because of course Metro Man looks like a human, Megamind looks like a traditional alien, the manner in which they're treated, and we see how those characters develop themselves really based off of their environment. So right then and there, it's a spoof on the Superman origin story. And then even later in the film, like my favorite bit from the film is the bit of Space Dad. And Space Dad is a character that Megamind creates to achieve his goal in the film. But Space Dad, that's a Marlon Brando spoof. Like, the character visually is supposed to be a spoof off of Marlon Brando's portrayal in the Christopher Reeve Superman, but Will Ferrell's performance is a Marlon Brando impersonation from The Godfather. So yeah, and as soon as I saw it, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh snap, he's spoofing Marlon Brando. So that's the type of thing I'm talking about. That's the type of thing. Also, Metro City is a spoof on Metropolis. I mean, it's even in the name. Metro Man is a Superman spoof with his character design and whatnot. So that's the main thing. But like I said, the film is smart in that these characters are well aware of what's going on. Megamind provides the narration throughout the film. He's well aware of it. And that does play into the film, some of the film's themes, which I'm gonna get ready to touch on right here and now. So the biggest theme of the film is the notion of predestination. That's the biggest theme of the film. Because like I said, we have characters who are aware of their archetypes, and they are given a choice whether to play up to them or to act against them, right? They're given that opportunity for change, which is another thing I'll give the film credit for, because every character has that, not just the main character. And a lot of times in traditional superhero fare, it's usually the main character who's given that that choice, because he's our main vehicle throughout the narrative, right? Like, we experience the story through that character, through that vantage point. But every character actually is given an opportunity for change. Megamind is given one. Metro Man is given one. Hal is given one. Roxanne is actually given one, though it's not. She's given one. Actually, no, she is. She is given one. Now that I think about it, because there's an event at the end of the second act where if she does not, like she has a choice, and if the choice had been done separately, the third act wouldn't have happened. So she is given that opportunity for change. But once again, that narrative vehicle, remember, just because a character is given the opportunity for change doesn't necessarily mean that that change is what will either progress the story or propel the character to the next phase of their arc. Sometimes they're not supposed to accept the change, and we get the varying result, right? Roxanne's opportunity is like that, where she could take that opportunity, but she doesn't. And because she doesn't, the third act occurs the way that it does. But and then, of course, there are other characters who do take their opportunities. Actually, I would probably argue Metro Man, Hal, and Megamind all take their opportunity. Hell, even Minion takes his opportunity for a while, but they all do take that opportunity for change. But that's how you create three-dimensional characters, right? Two-dimensional characters will stay within the box that has been set up for them. Three-dimensional ones will go outside the box. Because remember, I guess to use the analogy, a box is a two-dimensional figure. A cube is a three-dimensional figure. So, or I guess rather, a square is a two-dimensional figure. A cube is a three-dimensional figure. But that's how you create three-dimensional characters. There has to be more to them than what's on the surface, and that's one of the overarching, if not the most prominent overarching theme throughout the entire film: predetermination and predestination. You are what you are, and that's what you'll always be. That question is throughout the entire film, the whole thing. Megamind has it, and Metro Man has it. Hal has it. Even Roxanne has it. They all deal with that same conundrum, right? And I would go as far as to say that is the main theme of the film. Is it possible to change your circumstance? The second theme, which kind of plays into the first thing, but that question of nature versus nurture, that it partners up with the predetermination theme, but that question is throughout the film too. Are you the way you are because of the environment? Are you a product of your environment, or will your environment be a product of you? That question, that's probably, I would, like I said, it coincides with the first theme. I would probably say it's a sub theme. It's like the second theme, but that's there too. And it's a constant question that Megamind, Metro Man, and Hal, they deal with that whole, Roxanne too. They deal with that the whole movie. And both of those things I think are done very, very, very well. All right, so let me go ahead and let me touch some more on the characters, because essentially I've kind of segued into them anyway. So like I said, all of them are done very well. I'm going to say my favorite one is Megamind. He's my favorite character just because Will Ferrell's performance is spectacular. He's great. I love Megamind. Like, I love Megamind's characterization, because he, as much of the stereotypical supervillain that he is, he totally like gets into character. And I would make the argument that just like how in traditional superhero fare, we have the superhero, we have the alter ego, the secret identity, right? I would argue Megamind kind of has that too, because like he is who he is, right? Like everyone knows he's Megamind. That's the only name he has. He doesn't have like a secret identity or anything like that. But there is a difference between who he is behind closed doors and who he presents himself to be in the public. I'm not saying that it's two different characters, but dude, Megamind is so into the presentation. He is so into like the performance of being a supervillain that is almost like a different character. It's kind of like a professional wrestler, right? Like, dude, he is the Ric Flair right? He's the Ric Flair. He's the macho man of this universe, right? Because you got Metro Man, and he's the pretty boy, and the rock star, and everybody loves him and stuff. They're definitely doing an Elvis spoof with Metro Man. He definitely has the Elvis thing going on. But if you're talking about two characters who are like battling each other, not just good and evil, right? Not just right and wrong, villain versus hero. They're also battling each other for flair. And dude, I think Megamind wins with the flair, man. I think he does, dude. He got the light show going. The costume, dude. Metro Man has, okay. Correction. Because there is a scene where we see some of Metro Man's other costumes, but I'm just saying, dude, like Megamind, dude, when he breaks out the Black Mamba, right? The Black Mamba, dude, I'm like, I totally ate that up. Dude. It's so ridiculous, but I love it. I love it because he loves it, and you could tell that he loves it, or at least that part of it, right? Because what he doesn't love is being hated by the public, the ostracization. The stigma that comes with him, looking the way he looks and everything. He spends a lot of the film in disguise. So I guess that would be the point in the movie where you could say that he has sort of like a secret identity, because he does like disguise himself as other people a lot. Granted, it's because he's trying to complete his grand master plan. It's a means to an end, not an end in and of itself. But I guess you could make that argument of the alter ego there, definitely. And funny enough, we find out in the film Metro Man is a character who doesn't utilize the alter ego bit as much as you might think he would, which is another sort of turn on the head of the whole Superman mythos, right? The hero who's always the hero. That's a big thing for that character too. So all of that I think is done really well. So I spoke on Megamind. I spoke on Metro Man just briefly. Roxanne, real quick, I'll bring up Roxanne because Roxanne is the character. She is sort of the every woman who learns that she can actually be, that she could play a bigger role than she has. So it is sort of that traditional like everyman trope, the everyman who becomes bigger, who finds a mission greater than himself. It's that trope, but that is the trope that sort of goes against Roxanne's archetype, because you would think that her character shouldn't, or well, I guess not shouldn't, but wouldn't aspire to that. But because of what happens throughout the film, that's once again the opportunity for change, right? That's her thing. I'm gonna talk about Hal, because what I like about Hal is initially the way Hal's character arc is presented in the film is almost as if it's a subversive sort of thing, until we get to the second act when Roxanne is the one that reveals to us like, oh no, like if you were ever going to try and make a superhero, Hal is the worst person you could have possibly chosen. That's in the second act. And of course, we don't actually get to see what that looks like until the end of the second act, when it's like, whoa, like that's, I like how it wasn't a sudden turn, right? How gaining superpowers, it only manifests what was already there in the first place. So it kind of plays to that idea from Captain America, right? From the super soldier serum, right? The difference between Steve Rogers and the Red Skull, right? It makes a good man great, and it makes a bad man worse. Hal is the bad man worse. It only seems like it comes out of nowhere because we don't spend a lot of time with Hal beforehand, but there are notions of Hal being sort of like a selfish individual, a self-centered individual. and that he has a big ego in a small frame, that is apparent early on. So I kind of like that. That's how that character was developed. You know what I'm saying? So that when we do see, like when we're finally introduced to Titan, it's like, whoa, right? But I like that it was always there from the beginning. I dug that. I dug that. Once again, superhero satire that ends up playing itself more in the traditional superhero fare. So I dug that. I dug that. All right. So real quick, let's talk about the animation. The animation is actually really good. It's really, really good in this film. Especially since, we're talking about 2010. So even then we're still perfecting like CG animation. You know what I'm saying? Of course, Pixar has been the creme de la creme for, in CG animation for a very long time, well over a decade. I'd probably argue the last 20 years. But remember, man, this is 2010. This is when DreamWorks animation, they're just hitting their stride. 2010, let's see. By 2010, and I'm talking about the breakout, right? Like the breakout DreamWorks films. Of course, we know about Shrek, right? Like by 2010, the Shrek trilogy had ended. I believe we had Kung Fu Panda, but correct me if I'm wrong, 2010 was the year of How to Train Your Dragon, right? So, like, in my opinion, 2010, we only had one Kung Fu Panda. How to Train Your Dragon had just come out. Dude, this is like the DreamWorks is just hitting their stride. They're just getting started, right? Because that company, it was the Shrek company for so long that it's like this is when they started, branching out and breaking out with so many other films. And Megamind, I think, is good. But it's so funny how like I think that like this film was not that popular. Matter of fact, let me check what the box office for it was. Okay, so the budget was 130 mil. The box office was 321.9. Okay, so it didn't triple, which is the standard like Hollywood metric, right? Like you want to triple your budget in box office because you have to double to break even and you want at least your money back in profit, right? So it didn't triple, but yeah, I think the film was not as popular because of that time period. I think if this film might have been 3 years earlier, it might have been a little bit more popular, or because once again, what I opened this video with, this movie was 2010. Dude, if this movie came out in 2013 or 2015, yeah, I think it would have been well better received. But it is a good film. It's solid. It's solid. Lastly, let's talk about the music. All right. I'm going to go ahead, just throw this out here, complete and utter bias. If you got AC/DC, hold on, so y'all can see my hands. If you got AC/DC, if you got Guns N' Roses, if you got Black Sabbath in your film, come on, bro. Come on, dude. Dude, man, when they dropped, because what was the first? I think was it Highway to Hell? I think it was Highway to Hell. When Highway to Hell dropped in this movie, I was like, okay, like, all right, what else are we doing with this? And then Crazy Train drops, right? Back in Black, dude. When Back in Black dropped, I was like, bruh, because that's my jam. That's my jam, dude. So yeah, I dug the musical choices in this film. I like that. Megamind, like his own personal soundtrack is that classic rock. You know what I'm saying? Like I dug that. I thought it was awesome, and it fits his personality. I could see him being into that. You know what I'm saying? I totally dug it. So yeah, music. Like I said, man. Because yeah, we did Highway to Hell, Back in Black, Welcome to the Jungle. What was the other? I just mentioned it. Oh, Crazy Train. I'm trying to think what I know there was another one. I forget what the other track was, but yeah, totally dug the music. And the main score is pretty good too. The main score is really good. I dug it. It works as a musical cue. It works. It works in the big battle at the end in third act. I was waiting for that score to drop, and it did at all the right moments. Metro Man's score is really cool too. It's much more like traditional, like, you know, superhero type score. But I dug that one. And I think Hans Zimmer did the music for this. I think let me double check real quick. Yep, Hans Zimmer. Yep, makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, he did the music. He did him and it's him and Lauren Balfe. Okay. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah. And it's good. It's good. All right. So coming up on almost a half hour. So yeah. Final thoughts on Megamind. It's a good film. If you like superhero movies, you'll get a kick out of this. If you like superhero parody, you'll definitely get a kick out of it. If you just want if you want another movie you can show the kids, you can totally show them this one. The humor's not crude or anything like that. Actually, yeah, it's not. The humor's not crude or anything like that. It's not disgusting or anything like that. The comedy hits. It's there is some slapstick in it, like some physical humor where, you know, characters getting like beat up or injured or something like that. But the best humor is the pseudo quasi improv sort of dialogue that I mean is really, really good. And Will Ferrell, he's that type of comedian where he can pull that type of comedy off. I mean, if you've seen him on SNL, you know the dude can do improv better than a lot. Like, that's right up his alley. Him and Tina Fey both, because it's their exchanges, I think, are some of the funniest in the movie. So yeah. So I highly recommend it. Check it out. Really good. I would definitely give it 3 stars, 3 out of 4. Definitely give it 3. It's good. So, and I'm saying 3 because like by contrast, like How to Train Your Dragon, I would give 4. So compared to that, it's a 3. But it's a solid 3. Solid 3, knocking on 3.5 even. Yeah, it's that good. So check it out. So I want to thank everybody for joining me again for this review. If you like this review, please feel free, thumb it up, give it a like, share it with anybody you think would get a kick out of it. Leave your comments on the film. What did you think of it? If you guys have any other recommendations, by all means, throw them out in the comments. And last but certainly not least, if you have yet to subscribe to the OAW Entertainment channel, please feel free to do so now. I appreciate it so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to give a final shout out to longtime OAW patron and supporter, Double O Soldier. Thanks again for the great recommend, for the great request. And if you all have a request for a film, TV show, an anime, comic, manga, anything like that you want to see me review right here on the channel, once again, I'll throw the link up one more time. That is going to be, let me go ahead and make it big and red. That is going to be patreon.com/OAW. Hit up my tiers, select the one that suits your fancy, and your request will be fulfilled right here. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I am signing off, and until next time, peace.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?